Have you ever noticed that trend where the kids that you went to high school with turned out as adults to have lives that were almost inversely proportional to their social lives as kids? For example, that weird smelly kid that was bullied all the time is now the owner of a giant tech company that's sending rockets into space and having the attention of all the hottest chicks on the planet, while that popular jock kid that got all the chicks in high school is unemployed and fat and still living in his dad's auto shop with that chick that he also knocked up in high school who's also fat and unemployed, and now they just yell at each other all day and do drugs. This is a legit phenomenon that we have all seen and discussed with our friends at some point. Look at Brad, he peaked in high school, now he's a loser. Or look at Sally, she used to have an ugly zit face and now she's a successful CEO who also does modeling on the side, or whatever that story is. This dynamic is not accidental at all. In fact, the reality of your situation is going to be that if you're in deep with any crowd that you see as mainstream or popular in any way, and if you're really locked into that crowd, those people will eventually drag you down. And this is why, because the nature of wealth, and this is about to be really convoluted, so listen carefully. The nature of wealth is that it's a completely relative idea. In other words, in order to be successful and wealthy, you have to be successful and wealthy relative to the people that live in your society. So you have to be exceptional in order to be wealthy, because if there were a lot of you, then you as an economic player wouldn't have as much value. Supply and demand. Are you catching my drift yet? So let me give you an example of this. So like if everybody in your society made $1,000 a month salary, then in order for the landlords to be able to pay their bills, they're going to have to charge a lot more than $1,000 a month in order to break even, because all those people working for them need to be paid $1,000 a month. The people in the utility companies are being paid $1,000 a month, and so forth. This is just an example, not like accurate. So your rent is going to have to be higher than $1,000 a month. And it doesn't matter that that sounds like a lot of money to you. That's still the lowest they can charge for rent, because everybody in that society is making the same amount. So even if you had $1,000 and you saw that as a lot of money, it doesn't matter, because you still can't afford rent in that market. So $1,000 is not a lot for the market. Whatever. That was a dumb, oversimplified example, but I hope you're able to see beyond the example and understand my main point. Competition is how you survive. It's impossible to get far with spending in a society where everybody is just as wealthy as you. So let's say instead that everybody in your society was making $100 a month and you made $1,000 a month. Then you can say that you're wealthy, because you're wealthier than everybody else, because you're able to pay for things that the average person isn't able to pay for, and wealth is relative. You'll be able to, for example, afford the rent that you want, because there's people working for that landlord and utility companies that don't make as much as you do. So they have to live in a cheaper place and so forth. Being locked into the mainstream and acceptable people in your society can cause you to be average and thus poor by default. You're going to inherit the average way of thinking, the average work ethic, the average eating habits that cause them to do average other parts of their life, and have an average amount of energy and an average body and an average personality and average life trajectory. And before you know it, you're complaining about those greedy 1% that steals everything from us poor people, because that's what being average is all about. If this video is insulting to you in any way, just know that I am not talking about you personally, because I honestly don't know who is watching this video, and these videos are all just things that I would tell my younger self, or really anybody that I love and care about. You're gonna have to start thinking of yourself as special and above average, and start being extremely selective with the people that you surround yourself with, if you ever want to even be basically wealthy in any area of your life based on whatever wealth means to you. And I know this sounds extremely snobby or like a terrible and evil way of thinking, but just remember who taught you that. Other average people. If you notice the people whose shoes you wish you could be in, the people who have what you want but that you don't have, they also have something that you need, and that is the ability to be different and be okay with being different. Do the things nobody else is willing to do, and you'll see the results that nobody has ever seen. Our ecosystem could use more people that are both willing and proud to be who they are. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in the Orthodox Jewish community, and one thing that we always learned, which again, average people think this is a terrible, evil thing, and that's, in my opinion, why they're average. The thing that we always learned as Jews is that we were special and we were destined to do great things. We didn't believe that anybody else was bad or evil or even not special, according to what I was taught. We just believed that we were extra special, and that there's no possible way to expect anybody who isn't as special as we were to take on the kind of responsibilities that we took on and accomplish the things that we were able to accomplish. And if if you know any Orthodox Jews, it's a really intense religion with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of discipline. And I know that LDS Mormons tend to have a similar mentality of the specialness, and I'm sure there's a lot of other similar groups out there. Of course, it's possible to take this specialness idea the wrong way and become arrogant and too comfortable in the way that you do things and never strive to be better, never strive to be nicer or calmer or healthier or wealthier because you're already special, and before you know it, you're bankrupt and all alone. Nobody wants to be around you because you oversold yourself and you're an asshole. So it really takes a balance. Always question yourself. Don't be an overly arrogant asshole. But for the most part, this I am special attitude that some cultures and religions adopt seems to work out really well for them. My friends and family in the Orthodox Jewish community were always, or at least became, the wealthiest subgroup of people anywhere that they went, had the lowest rate of divorces and broken families, the highest rate of births. People would get married young and have large families and be able to support their families because they'd get involved in the family businesses or in friends' businesses. And while the secular culture was busy getting addicted to hard drugs, hookups, and these ideas that told them to be poor and sterile and hopefully reject their own DNA and eventually die alone, this special culture had over time less and less competition and thus became increasingly more competitive. I know it hurts to hear this stuff, but trust me, the only reason it hurts to hear the kind of stuff that winners are taught since they're children is because you're surrounded and maybe even raised by people that are average and have somehow convinced you that stepping out of your comfort zone and trying to reach your fullest potential somehow makes you a weirdo or maybe even wrong. There is nothing wrong with being poor. Also, poor isn't even a real concept. I'm extremely poor compared to some people and extremely wealthy compared to some other people, but I will always strive to do better, be a better, healthier version of myself, and keep creating sustainable long-term value to the best of my potential. And I also recognize that to 99% of the world, where people were raised, in my opinion, to be total defeatists, what I'm telling you guys might sound delusional and perhaps even morally wrong, but I'm okay with that because the fact that those people feel that way is how my competition is still so much lower than it could be. Anyway, if what I'm saying resonates with you in any way, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And I've created a 12-step program for my younger self called House Hackers Anonymous. It comes with a 12-step book and course, and hopefully soon a few more resources. And it's all about getting my younger self out of survival mode. All these videos that you see in this House Hackers Anonymous playlist are really created for my younger self to help make better my younger self, get my younger self out of survival mode, and validate a younger version of myself. And I'm hoping that it might be helpful to some of you guys, but if not, I hope it's at least entertaining. See you in the next video.